Just.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
And so, my name is Brian Leonard. I am on the staff here at BVL. My wife and I, like Katie, lost our son 2 years ago to addiction. And we had a lot of talks on people that have been through it and survived it. And it was time to talk about the grief of actual overdose death. And I got to say, Gabby's the one that brought it up because I wasn't done. My wife and I are still, still struggling.
Yeah.
So BVL exists for those in need. So my son Joey and my daughter Mary, I keep Mary in there all the time. We're the brains behind all this, and it just. But at the end of the day, it was the Holy Spirit that put us here and got us going. We can't take any blame of that. So before I introduce Katie, I want to introduce the member of the month, Andrew.
Woo, Andrew!
Andrew and his guys come in here and they've been just so helpful, and they're always here, always helping out, and it just makes a big difference that you have such a close-knit family like that. So Katie doesn't need any introduction, obviously. She's been here since day one. You were on WGN with us, right, in the morning?
Yeah.
So
it's fun.
The first start, she's been here, and I'll tell you this: when I see Katie, I don't even have to talk to her. It just I get a little calm out of my chaos, and she's just a very, very special person. So let's welcome Katie.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that introduction, Brian. Can everybody hear me okay? If you can't, let me know. And huge thank you to BVL and for giving me the opportunity to be here today. As soon as I walk in the gym, I see Brian's picture. And I never got to meet Brian, but by spending time in here, I feel like I know him. And I will take that with me wherever I go. So just coming into this gym, I feel that same calm. So this is a very special place, and everybody that comes in here gets something out of it, and that's what they take out and put into the world. So the ripple effect goes far beyond any of you guys can even imagine. But it's a beautiful thing. So I kind of want to start by just starting by who Robbie was, because Robbie was much more than his disease of addiction. He was much more than the mental illness that he struggled with. He loved baseball, and he was pretty good at it. He was a straight A student. He always did his homework. I never had to be on him about his homework. Like, that was important to him, that his homework always be turned in on time. He never had missing assignments. He was good at school. He played football. He played for Mokina Burrows. I won't say that he loved football, but he loved being a part of the team. And to him, that was a cool sport, and so all of the football players, they were the cool kids. So he loved being part of that. He did football until he went to high school. He was funny. He had a sense of humor that he used against me most of the time, and he still does, honestly. He still does, but he was smart. He was relentless. That's the best word that I can use to describe Robbie, was relentless. Drove me crazy, especially when he was young. Scared the shit out of me when he got older. But that was Robbie. He started early on having problems at school with behaviors and stuff. He was in second grade, so he was probably around 8. I started getting phone calls from the teacher and trying to figure out what was going on. I know now that it was anxiety. I didn't know at the time what it was. I did everything I could to try to figure out what was going on with him. We took him to doctors. We took him to psychiatrists. We took him to counselors. We did family therapy. Nothing seemed to hold everything was just like a short-term fix. Nothing seemed to really take hold for him. First time he got in trouble with the police, he was 14 years old. And that just kind of leads me to where were the parents? That one really gets me. That one is really important to me. Anytime you see on Facebook, kids get in trouble and somebody blasts them all over social media, and all of the comments are, that's poor parenting. Where are those kids' parents? My kids would never do that. I raised them better than that. So, and then as parents, we see that guilt, shame, and it piles on top of us. So the first time Robbie got into trouble, he snuck out of the house in the middle of the night, drank, I don't know, vodka, whatever, hard liquor, and he and another friend went through our neighborhood and destroyed people's mailboxes, vandalized people's homes and cars. So that was right then I started getting phone calls from neighbors telling me what a terrible mom I am. They would come to our house and tell us how much they hated Robbie and what were we going to do about it, having no idea that we were doing everything humanly possible. We were doing everything we could with the information we had at the time. We even got anonymous letters in our mailbox about how can we allow this to happen. So again, guilt, shame, all of that carries with him too. So he went to, and I will say, this is where the parents were. And every parent in here, every parent, whether you've lost a child or not, can say the same thing. We were at every baseball game. Mike was his coach, his dad. I was the team mom and the scorekeeper. We went to every single football game. I think Mike was the stats keeper for all of his football games. I was at every parent-teacher conference. That's where I was. That's where the parent was. I was taking phone call after phone call from teachers telling me, how can we work together to make this better? I was at the doctor's appointments. I took him to psychiatrists. I took him to therapists. I even went to workshops because being a teacher, I had access to certain workshops that I could go to about parenting. How do you parent the spirited child? And I tried method after method after method, behavior modification methods, tried them all. They would all work for a few weeks, maybe a month, and then it would start to fall apart again and we'd be right back in the same place. I was at the emergency room every time we had to call an ambulance, every mental health breakdown, every crisis. I picked him up at the police station when he would get arrested. I answered the phone every time he would call when he was in trouble or in a crisis. I was the last person he contacted the night he died. We were there. All of you parents, you were there. You are there for your kids. So when they say, where are the parents? I wish that we could tell them where the parents are, because we're there. And this is where life becomes unmanageable. So the first time Robbie went to treatment, he was probably 15, because now he's on juvenile probation because he had his first arrest. He has court-ordered treatment. So he goes to treatment, and we have Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance. Treatment centers love Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance. So, not a problem. He gets right in. He's there for 8 days when Blue Cross Blue Shield decides he's cured. So we get a call from the treatment center saying, he's ready, he's packed up, insurance isn't going to pay for another day, so he's waiting for you. 8 days. So we bring him home, terrified, and of course he just picked up where he left off. And that is the beginning of life becoming unmanageable. Because all he did in those 8 days was make connections and get other ideas and have more influences. So life becomes unmanageable. And what that started to mean for Mike and me, it meant locking our valuables in our cars inside our garage every night. It meant sleeping with our car keys under our pillows and then locking ourselves in our bedroom so he couldn't come in our bedroom. My purse would also be under my bed, locked in my bedroom. It meant every night when my daughter, who was 8 at the time, when she went to bed, locking her in her bedroom and hoping she doesn't know that she's locked in a room, because I don't know if he's going to go in there and steal her birthday money. So it is looking at treatment centers. Who do I call? How do I pay for this? Asking counselors, one counselor after another. It means you don't know who your friends are. You don't know who you can trust. It means people are definitely talking about you, and you are now that family, and they are talking shit about you behind your back, but pretending to be supportive and caring to your face. You don't know. So at the point that where I felt life had become the most unmanageable, I think Robbie was needing to go to treatment again for probably the 7th time. He went to treatment 9 times in total. I don't even know how many times he went to outpatient. So he was needing to go to treatment and even sober living after that. We had to tell him he couldn't come back home. At this point, he was 18. We had to tell him he couldn't come back home. Hard as hell. Hardest thing you have to tell your kid is that they're not welcome back home. But it wasn't safe for us, and it wasn't safe for him. So we did make sure he was in treatment with a counselor when we told him that. And that did get him to finally go to sober living, and he did have 10 or 11 months of good sober time. I don't like the word clean. I don't want to say he was clean. I don't like the word clean because it insinuates that he's dirty, and that just doesn't, I don't like to see it that way. But at one night, I was sitting in my car, and I didn't know where he was. He was out of treatment at this point, and he was back ripping and running again. He would not come home 3 days at a time. I didn't know where he was. I didn't know if he was dead or alive. I'm calling all of his friends. Has anybody seen him or heard from him? The ones who hadn't seen him or heard from him are answering their phone and telling me no. Anyone who had is, of course, not. They're ghosting me. They're not going to tell me where he is. So I just made a phone call. I had a friend who had a brother who had similar struggles that Robbie did, and her mom was she was dealing with it in a much healthier way than I was. Here I am sitting, hiding in my car, crying, not knowing where to go. So I called this lady. She was a stranger to me, but I had her number, and it was just that beacon of light. I just called her, told her who I was, what was going on, and she told me what worked for her, which was Families Anonymous. So that's where I started with Families Anonymous, and I met my beautiful friend Jackie there. And that's where the support groups started. And that was the beginning of me taking control of my life again and getting my peace and serenity back. And I do think it's important for parents who have children who are still struggling to protect their own peace and serenity, because without that, you cannot help your child. So from there, Jackie told me about a group in Naperville where I met my beautiful friend Sherry, not Marilyn, Sherry. And then we did that for a couple years before another friend of ours, Tom, who's from New Lenox, decided to start a group here. And so we did that. We were the OGs of that group. That group lasted 10 years. It was so impactful. That's one thing I will tell parents. If you have a child who is struggling, get help for yourself, whatever that looks like. If it's a support group, there's plenty of them out there. Or therapy works for me. I would not be standing here right now if it weren't for my therapist. So those are things that I have found hugely helpful. Speaking of support groups, now after 10 years, the New Lenox support group, it just kind of had run its course. And so Jackie and Gigi and Sherry and I, we do have another support group that meets at Crossroads Christian Church in Joliet on Monday nights. Anybody's welcome. We would love to have you. Some of us have lost our children. My dear friend Gigi has lost her son in 2018. Some of us have kids in recovery. Jackie's daughter, Michelle, how many years? 10 years in recovery. Yay, Michelle. And we have some who have kids who are still struggling to one degree or another. So all are welcome. If you yourself are struggling, if you are in recovery, if you know somebody who's struggling, you love somebody who's struggling, grandparents, mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, all are welcome. It is called LOVEMORE. That's the name of our support group. So again, where were the parents? That's where we were. We were in support group meetings. We're out there trying to help other parents. We're learning what we can about our child's disease and using that to help other people. Because society wants to blame parents. That's the easy way out. But we know that's not. We know it's not our fault. Sometimes we have to remind ourselves that it's not our fault. We didn't cause addiction. We can't cure addiction. What's the other C? What's the other C for addiction? Can't control it. Didn't cause it. Can't control it. Can't cure it. That is the most helpless feeling in the world, by the way. That pisses me off. That it can't, if you can't help your own child, what good are you? But this is where, this is where the good comes from. I'm standing here right now in this moment because of everything that happened to me, everything that happened to my son, brought me here in this moment with all of you, which I'm so grateful for, and I never could have imagined in my wildest dreams that I would have the opportunity to do this. So I'm really grateful to be able to share what I've learned along the way. Hope that it resonates with you in some way. Anything that doesn't work for you, this is just what has worked for me in my journey. Anything that doesn't work for you, let it go. But if you find something that does resonate with you, then my job's done. Then I'm happy. Then today was a success. So early grief. So I'm going to start with, I'm going to start with that day. So Robbie was, he had almost 2 years of sobriety, at least as far as I know. At some point he must have relapsed, but I didn't know for sure that he had relapsed, although the signs are there, you just don't want to see them. I kind of had some idea that he was struggling again, but he gifted us with a beautiful granddaughter who's 5 years old now, and he was really trying those last 2 years of his life to be in her life and be a good dad, and he loved being a dad. He just loved it. He was reconnecting with family. If we had family events, he was there. He was plugged in. He was engaged. We had so many great memories of those last 2 years of his life, just making those connections and stuff. And he was there, and he was there, and he was who he was. So the night that things went south, he was at a friend's house. He had just broken up with a girlfriend, so he wasn't in a great place. He was delivering pizzas at the time, I think that was right. He was delivering pizzas at that time. He had gotten hurt. He used to work for Superior Linen. He had gotten hurt on the job, so that he was between jobs for a little while, but I know I'm kind of getting all over the place. But then he found this job delivering pizzas. The problem was he would get off of work at like 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, and the pizza place was right next to the gas station that had video poker. So he's like, all right, he was a big gamer, loved his video games, big gamer. So he'd go to the gas station, whatever money he just made at work went into the video poker machines. And sometimes he would win, and he would be way up here. And sometimes when he lost, he was down here and he'd be out for 3 days. He'd come home and he wouldn't leave his room for 3 days. And his dog Annie wouldn't leave his room either for 3 days. She was right there with him. So that night, he went and gambled. He had $200 in his pocket. He went and gambled and he lost all $200. He was distraught. So he decided to use meth, apparently, and experienced a mental health crisis. He was at a friend's house. Right in front of her, he had a prescription for Klonopin. He looked at her and he opened the Klonopin and he downed the whole thing. She did everything right. She called the police. But by the time police got there, Robbie took off in his car. And I didn't know any of this. Finally, another friend called me and asked me if Robbie was home. This was about 2 o'clock in the morning. If Robbie was home. I go, probably. Let me just see if his car's out front. His car wasn't out front. Okay, well, she said he had taken off in his car. I said, okay, he was probably on his way. Instead of Robbie coming home and walking through the door, my doorbell rang and it was a Mokina police officer telling me that they had found Robbie's car. He had crashed it into an apartment building in Manhattan. And then he ran off. A witness saw him run off from the scene of the accident. So I went, okay, what now? What do I do? What do I do with that? They had me fill out, make a flyer, a missing persons flyer. He was officially missing and endangered because at that point I looked at my phone and I saw the text that he had sent me saying that he's a piece of shit and he wouldn't be coming home again, but he loves us all. He wants us to know how much he loves us. So, yeah, that made him missing and endangered. So I sat down with a police officer and I made a missing and endangered post for my son. That would go out all over social media. They put it out to all of the local police departments. They were out there with dogs and drones for 4 days looking for him. My friends rallied around me. My family rallied around me. What do you do? What do you do when your kid's missing? What do you do? I had no idea. One of my friends arranged a search party, which was great. My friend from the patch got a hold of that. She put that out to everybody. I swear everybody and their brothers showed up on that day to look for my son. Most of them didn't know him. I didn't know most of the people who were there. My friend Debbie even took Robbie's dog, which probably wasn't the easiest thing because she's a spaz. But if anyone was going to find Robbie, it was going to be her. The police were out there. The detective was out there. The detective was walking through muck and mud up to his knees. I think he changed his clothes 3 times, but he was out there, boots on the ground, looking for Robbie. They had drones in the air. Nothing. So I went out and decided to do my own foot search. So I'm standing in my closet the day that I'm going to go do this search, and I'm thinking, well, what the fuck do you wear when you're going to search for your kid? I'm going through my clothes. What do you wear? I wore my Dandelion Mama shirt. I said, okay, this is it. I'm going out. I took his dog Annie out there. Mike drove around in his truck. We went to gas stations. We showed his picture. We looked in people's backyards. We begged people to look in their sheds. We just walked up and down the places that we know that he was last seen. Of course, we had no luck. It was just frustrating. Come back home. What do we do? I was constantly on the phone with the detective, and he's telling me we're doing everything we can. There's nothing for you to do but stay by your phone. Well, everyone has a cell phone. I have no problem staying by my phone, but I was getting text messages and phone calls 24/7, which just means that I felt very loved through all of that, which is a gift. So on the morning of September 17th, it was probably about 11 o'clock, and Lacey asked me, I was still in my pajamas, but I get a knock on the door, and I look out the side window of the door, and I see Detective Rasky's face, and I know he's here in person, and I know exactly what that means. And I open the door, and right behind him comes the deputy coroner, and he introduces the deputy coroner. Okay, that's where the parents were then. That's where I was then. I was sitting with the deputy coroner and the detective, listening to how my child died, how his body was found, who found it, all of the details. Mike and I sat there. We answered horribly invasive questions that the coroner had to ask, and we gave truthful answers, which is why his death was ruled a suicide, mostly because of that text that he had sent me. But I don't believe it was a suicide. He had drowned. He was found in a retention pond. His body was found floating in a retention pond behind some people's house. I felt bad for those people that found his body. You can't imagine how horrible that would be. But so after the deputy left, and he did a really nice job, and he stayed with us for quite a while, and he was very kind and very considerate, and I have no problems with how anything was handled. It was handled with great compassion, and we will always be grateful for that. He left. Mike and I looked at each other. What the fuck do we do now? What is this whole new world? In an instant, I went from being the mother of an addict, which I knew how to do that. I'd had 15 years of training to be the mother of an addict. I didn't like it, but I knew how to make those hard decisions, no matter how much they hurt. Now I'm a bereaved mother. I don't know what that is. I didn't know. We're in this club that nobody wants to be in, and I'm standing in the middle of my kitchen going, what do I do now? I texted my sweet mother-in-law and said, you need to come over. She did, and she knew why she was coming over, so that was not easy. And then I just started making phone calls, calling my family and telling them, hey, by the way, called my dad. My dad was the first person I called. Called my dad. Dad, they found Robbie's body. How do you say that to your dad? They found your child's body. It was really in a whole nother world. So in that early grief, there's a lot of shock. And I really relied heavily on my support groups then. And then, I went from Tuesday night support group to grief support group, where I met my friends Amy and Jason, who lost their sweet son. How long ago? 4 years ago. So, and we've been able to support each other and as much as we can. It sucks to meet people on this path, but yet it's a gift. It really is. I wouldn't be up here doing this if it weren't not for Amy and Jason, Gigi, Sherry too, all of you guys, my family, who've walked with me by my side through every step. So that's where my strength comes from. It comes from my friends and my family, my support group. So I have this little praying mantis that I brought, which seems weird, I know. The summer of 2021 was the worst summer for Robbie. He was really deep in his disease. We were just coming out of COVID. He was trying to get help. He really was. I would be there when he would make the phone calls, but all the assessments were not in person. They wanted to do it over the phone. So he came out of treatment and went to sober living, but in sober living, he got addicted to Suboxone, which is what treatment centers use to handle the cravings and stuff. But it can be abused, and he was abusing it. He got kicked out of sober living. They told him, if you go to treatment, we'll save your bed. You can come back. He tried to go to treatment. A lot of the treatment centers just didn't know how to detox somebody from Suboxone. They really didn't know what to do with him, so he wasn't really sick enough. And then some of them, he was too sick. And many of them were full, And by this time, he didn't have insurance. He had state aid, so they didn't really have a lot of interest in him. And I can see why, because they may not have gotten their money for him, because that's a problem with our state insurance. They were told, call back in 3 days, call back in a week. He was trying desperately to get into Gateway. Our friend Connie was really working hard to help him. By the time a bed became available, it's too late. He had given up, and he was living in a crack house in Oak Forest. And so I would sometimes go to the crack house and do the only thing I could do for him, take him to get groceries, maybe take him to get some clothes or something. So one day I picked him up and we were going to go to the Walmart to get groceries, and he found this praying mantis. And he was so happy to find this praying mantis. Like, it just made him so happy. And he put it on his hand, and he's like, look, Mom, look what I found. And I have a picture of his hand with the praying mantis on there and stuff. And then, I couldn't figure out why. And then everything, went back to being shitty and just a big, giant struggle. And so after he died, I couldn't figure out why I liked praying mantises. They're ugly. They're not great pets, You're not going to cuddle it. But I did. So this spring, my granddaughter and I, we hatched over 200 praying mantis. I hope they're still alive, Kenny. Kenny has a couple of them. I tried my best. But I realized, it just dawned on me that little moment where he found the praying mantis was a good memory, a good moment. Full of everything else, everything around it was horrible, but we had that little good moment, and that's what I'm remembering. That's what I'm holding on to. And that's what those of us, if our children are still struggling, or if we've lost our children, those are the things you need to hold on to, those good memories. Keep them alive, keep them with you. Your kids are with you always. So I would say, my strength to do this, to be here today, comes from two places. There's the external strength, which is the support groups, all my friends, my family, my counselor. All of those things have come together to fortify me so that I can function in life as a bereaved mother. Then there's these internal forces that I'm also equally grateful for. My faith, my spirituality. I found God in a whole new way after Robbie died. My relationship with God is so much stronger. I feel so much more connected. I feel like a much more spiritual human being. I see signs. I know Robbie talks to me. I talk to him too. We have conversations all the time. People who don't know me probably think I'm crazy, but I don't care. And I probably am a little crazy. But I get signs from Robbie. I have talked to a couple mediums. That's not for everybody, but it worked for me. It helped me feel connected to him. And it helped me feel that he's really okay where he is. I mean, we all want to believe that, right? But that helped me see that it just cemented the idea he is good where he is. Apparently, he's a 9-year-old driving a bulldozer and the happiest can be in heaven, which would be just like him. So I do see signs from him. White butterflies are a big one, and I will often see, when I go see him at the cemetery, there's often a white butterfly there. Sometimes they'll even land on me. When we went hiking in Zion a couple months ago, 2 white butterflies landed on me, and they just hung around for a minute or two. When he wants to mess with me, he sends me spiders, because he knows I hate them. And he thought that was the funniest thing when he was a kid growing up, that he would tease me about how much I hate these damn spiders. So at his headstone at the cemetery, last summer he sent me this really cute jumping spider. Robbie, I thought it was cute. It didn't scare me at all. So, and I just know that it's him messing with me. This year on Mother's Day, I got out of bed feet hit the floor, first thing I saw was a spider scurry across the floor. Like, all right, Robbie, all right, thank you, that's Happy Mother's Day, and then I threw a shoe at it. So those are the kinds of things that really got me through that early grief, and now I'm into the phase of growing grief and learning to live with this this burden of being a bereaved mom for the rest of my life. Some people will say it's a storm and storms are passing. This storm is not passing. If you're living with the loss of a child, this storm is not passing. You're learning to walk and maybe even dance in the rain. I also like to, I love my metaphors and analogies, so bear with me. But I also see it as a backpack. And that grief is always there. It's in that backpack. Sometimes the backpack is light, and you can go about your day. The backpack's there, and you always know it's there. But you can go about your day, and you can just kind of keep it, in the back of your mind. Other days, that backpack is heavy, and you can't carry it, but you have to. You don't have a choice. So you just got to sit down. Maybe you got to lay down and wait for it to lighten up a little bit. So, but as you carry this backpack, you get used to the weight of the backpack. And what happens is when we carry weights, the more we do it, the stronger we get, right? So we get used to carrying this backpack, and you get stronger and stronger and stronger. You learn how to carry that backpack. You learn how to carry the weight of that backpack with you wherever you go. And it is with you wherever you go. And that's what a lot of people who haven't lost a child don't understand. When we're having conversations with people, the backpack's always there, and we are fully aware of it. Every sentence, every word we speak, between those words, there's the backpack. We're thinking, my child's dead. I lost my child. Every breath we take, it sounds like, it sounds cliche, but it's the truth. Every breath I take, he's there. He's with me. It's a beautiful thing, and it's a burdensome thing at the same time. My favorite thing in early grief was my fuck it journal. Because I'm going to be honest, swear words were my jam and they still are. That is what gets out what I need to get out the best way. I used to think that, F-bombs and stuff, people that use that language because they had poor vocabulary. I have good vocabulary, and those are the words that just best describe how I'm feeling. So my fuck it journal, I get to choose who's the asshole of the day. And it was usually somebody in their car that was pissing me off, or, the grocery store. The grocery store. The grocery store is still a trigger because I spent many times taking Robbie to the grocery store. I knew all of his favorite things. I knew what lunch meat he liked. And we always had a good time. He was always in a good place at the grocery store because I was spending money on him. He liked that. So the grocery store, since he died, is a tough, tough place. So when I do go in the grocery store, I'm coming in with a heavy backpack. And so I don't have the patience and the energy for other people in the grocery store. I think they have a lot of nerve being in the grocery store when I'm there. And that's what I'm thinking as I go through the grocery store, and about halfway through, I'm like, I just got to get out of here. I got to get out of here. That person with their cart in the middle of the aisle, I can't handle it. I got to get out of here. So, yeah, my fuck it journal really got me through a lot of things. And if you want one, you can get on Amazon. Highly recommend it for anybody. And I think that, the last thing I would like to end with, and then I'll open it up for anybody's comments, questions. I want to end it with a poem. So 2 weeks ago, I got to meet this a wonderful bereaved mom. Her name is Dr. Kim Whitemore. Amy and I met her at retreat for bereaved parents on Bereaved Mother's Day. Yes, that is a thing. There is a Bereaved Mother's Day. And now we have treats for bereaved mothers. Got some more here, which I'm so thrilled that you're here, by the way. So she read a poem. She wrote a book. And if you're interested in her book, I can tell you more about it. And she read a poem there that just totally stuck with me. So I asked her if I could make some changes to make the poem relative to my situation and if I could share it here. And she said, absolutely, of course. So her book is about grief and gratitude and how they coexist, which when Robbie first died, you told me grief and gratitude coexist. Screw that gratitude. I didn't want anything to do with that. Grateful for what? No, my kid's dead. My life has changed. I don't know who I am. My identity was completely changed. Mike and I had just retired just before Robbie died. 3 months before Robbie died? We retired, so we lost our career identities too. So, yeah, we were lost and did not even know where to turn. But now that I'm growing in grief, I see it. I see the joy and the sorrow together. I see the love and the loss together. I see the grief and the gratitude together. I believe Kim's poem was Grief and Gratitude. I just changed mine to Joy and Sorrow. And it just goes like this. I'm grateful for my daughter and my granddaughter and grieving for my son. I'm glad to be alive and wishing I had died with him. I'm learning to accept the new reality and in denial that he is really gone. Enjoying time together while feeling incomplete. Understanding what happened, but wondering why. Knowing there was nothing I could have done and feeling guilty that I couldn't save him. Finding strength, feeling powerless. Comforted by memories, terrified that he'll be forgotten. Praying for the best, but preparing for the worst. Moving forward and paralyzed by grief. Surrounded by love, but feeling alone. Full of joy and feeling empty. So that's my little take on Kim's poem. Anybody has any questions? I'd love to open it up, or if you want to share your experiences, because unfortunately too many of us share the same experiences. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I hope so.
Yeah, we all feel it, and everyone that you touch feels that. So thank you for giving us all that.
And thank you for saying that too, because there was a point where I was sitting in anger and frustration and thinking, what am I putting out in the world right now? There's a lot of negativity, which is normal, but that's not what I want to put out in the world. What I want to put out in the world is love, care, and compassion. Thank you, Mike Young, a friend of ours that lost his life way too soon. But that's what I want to portray when I go out into the world. I want to portray love. That's why we all do. That's why we call our support group LOVEMORE. I want to put kindness out into the world, not bitterness, not anger, not negativity, compassion for others. So hopefully that's what I'm doing. And you guys really gave me this great opportunity to do that today. So thank you.